So yeah, everybody coming up here saying y'all, when really it's the mayor. But can't nobody see that. Can't nobody see that because y'all too busy arguing with each other.
AC, baby.
She wanna get there again.
I got man time.
Yeah, that's young people. That's right.
Good evening, Madam President, Madam Mr. Vice President, Council, and Madam Law Director. There's been some tires being dumped in my ward, and I'm very concerned about that because you had told me about the environmental task force. There's one out there on right before you get to 152nd Street, and there's one over there where counties used to sit. And also, if time allows, I don't know how much time I got left. But the situation at Beverly Terrace Apartments caught my attention. Robert Lyons was my landlord, and and I'll be honest with y'all, that's deplorable what he's doing in the city. And to the law director, you have my support. What you're going to do about him? Coming from the county, I sit on the citizen advisory board to the county prosecutor, Timothy McGinty. You have my full support, the law director. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'd like, Dr. Patricia Bohovac, 1894 Farmington. I'd like to remind the community, anybody who sees or hears this, either directly or indirectly, that the schools have a program with volunteers coming in and working with the elementary school kids on their reading. And with the new third grade guarantee, this is even more important than it has been before. And so I'd like to encourage everybody. Councilman Martin volunteers at 2 of the schools, and I'm very grateful for that. I also do. But I'd like to encourage anyone to contact the superintendent's office regarding the next training session, which is short and not everything, and to volunteer your time in the schools. I'm also wondering where the salt is because my street was impassable for about 24 hours and hasn't been good for a long time. But if there is salt, it would be nice to see some.
One more. Yeah. Tammy Wheeler. I keep forgetting about this thing, so you should come to the top.
Yeah.
You guys, I know you're saying it's going to be changes, but I agree with this young man here. This mayor got to go. He's got to go. If you all don't take a stand and the rest of the community here, somebody going to do something. Our streets are disastrous. I mean disastrous. So he's saying if you want the streets fixed, we'll lose a couple of police or firemen. That don't sound right to me. You all, whatever you do, please do something. Do everybody just come together and do what you're here to do. If you don't do it, the Creator's going to come through here like the second coming. And I'm not joking either, because this can't keep going on like this. They want more tax money. We can hardly drive the streets. My car is like a slinky going up and down these streets. I'm serious. These personalities, we got to get them together. I don't say nothing, but I've been looking. These personalities, y'all got to get together and overpower this mayor. You have the power to do that. The community has the power to do that.
We're going to do it.
You know, and I'm looking forward to it because I'm going to be right on hand with him to get him out of here. Thank you.
Having heard,
Thomas, just,
yes.
I don't want to, I'm just running camera. You said you knew about all the banks and everything. What bank did the money from Warren Hospital get deposited in? Which has been a question that I gave to the law director, which is going to the Supreme Court in a case. Did they ever tell you what bank the money and how much it was? Just the bank. Did they tell you what bank it went in?
They never did say what bank it was as far as the Cleveland Clinic here in Road. When we asked about, which I did ask at that proper time, what happened to the money Mr. Marino was sitting on the console, and the mayor stated that he had spent it. That meant it went into the general fund, and he spent it. And I'd like to say this because, and I don't want to belabor the meeting, but what I have to say is to the young man and to our residents. I cannot speak for the mayor. I am not the administration. I can only speak for this council. And one thing I would like to say is that no one up here is perfect. And no one up here is without fault. Let's just get that out of the way. But when it comes down to coming to meetings, they're coming to meetings regardless of what their family ties are, or what their family jobs, or what their sicknesses are. Mr. Wheeler, the other week, had a family emergency. He also was sick, but he came and he left. And I don't want people coming up here coughing all over me, which Mr. Nathaniel Martin did a couple of weeks ago, and I got sick. But let's get back to the crux of what you were saying and what the other residents were saying. You know, you can't cherry pick and find out who's what and who's where. There's organizations that come with the school and responsibility of the parents and of the school and of the teachers. I think that basically what Mr. King was trying to do was trying to reach into the schools and give some leverage to individuals to help to leverage their level of learning and get some feedback from the students. I think that over in Shaw, Mr. Councilman Baker has been over in Shaw working with those individuals. A lot of us, I've been working with the shelter trying to identify individual children that have slipped through the cracks. I'm reaching out and trying to go through the school to see who's hungry and who's. You should be surprised at how many kids are in that school that don't have breakfast, don't even have the way hardly to get to school or shoes to get there with. How many kids are living in cars or in their family, in somebody else's family house? Now when you're talking about the city and the revenue, I'm not going to talk behind Mr. Smedley. I'm not going to talk about the mayor. But I would like to know, very honestly, and nobody has to speak out in this venue, but write and tell us, this council, what would you like us to do when the mayor gets up and walks out?
Hold him responsible.
Do you want us to jump up and start acting like buffoons and doing what used to happen? And not only when a lot of people, yes, people have been fighting up here and everything else. So all we can do is say, Mr. Mayor, call him to task and say, Mr. Mayor, it is not appropriate, it is unprofessional, whatever. We sued once before and it did not take place. Took him to court. We also took to Mr. McGinty, prosecutor, all those things. That did not happen. So whatever needs to be happening needs to come from the residents. The residents has to stand up and say, whatever you feel, enough is enough. We need this, we need this, we need this. The administration, this is the second time that the administration has been elected. And who elected them? The people of East Cleveland. It's just like Reagan. When Reagan got in, nobody voted for Reagan, but he was a bad administrator. Nobody voted for him. Couldn't find the person that said they voted for Reagan. But I'm trying to tell you, and hopefully you understand, that this is a good place to live. It's a good place to be. And I have raised kids in here. And all you need to do is let us know what else we can do besides legislate and listen to what you have to say, you the residents, and see where we can go.
Stop passing the
Every
legislation
time
That's what you need
that
to do.
we are
That's
sitting
what
up
you do.
here,
I guarantee you.
we're getting
You wanna know about
abused,
terrorism.
misused, and all those different kind of things at the council up here. We're not not knowing what we're talking about. We got legislation here that we go in agenda review. You heard them when they say they got a committee. They go in the committee. They go through that. There's 5 committees. And there's 3 council people that is on each one of these committees.
And the mayor holds 3
And
positions.
what I'm saying to you all is that it's our responsibility to legislate, appropriate, and authorize spending of money when it is appropriate. When it is not, I've said before, we don't authorize.
Yes, you do.
And we're trying to do what we can do. And I'm saying it is now 7:25.
Right.
And I am through. If I can finish mine. If I can finish, but that was my report, okay? Response of the council, and the mayor ain't here, so it don't matter.
I have something to
Yes.
say on behalf of
Okay.
Wow.
very,
I appreciate that.
very briefly. I would like to thank those of you that came to the funeral of my friend and role model, attorney, and former law director, Almeda Johnson.
Miss Johnson died?
Yes, you did.
I didn't know that.
Almeda Johnson was the law director that brought me into East Cleveland,
Yes.
and I will always treasure her friendship. And I appreciate seeing, I know I saw Mr. Baker and Mr. King, and I appreciate the proclamation that the council sent, and you have my warmest thanks for everything you did during her funeralization.
And let's not forget Miss Ewing. Miss
Okay.
Ewing passed away. Yes, Miss Ewing. And her funeral, I think, was on the same
Saturday.
day.
I didn't know nothing
Same
about
day.
it.
We had a proclamation for both of them, and my colleagues
Show?
attended. Yes. So there is some humility in and sensitivity amongst us all when one of our comrades has fallen. We do respect that, and I appreciate you speaking up. Thank you. Is any more remarks from my counselors?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, first, I'd like to go in order and respond. Before I make my response, I want to reassure this community that I will always remain faithful to the community in which I matriculated through in the school district. I will always remain faithful to this community because this community is responsible for the mature, educated male that you see today. And I'll continue in the successes that I've had. This community has produced a police officer. This community has produced a city councilman. This community has produced a dean of students. This community has produced a teacher in its own right. So I'm very proud of the heritage, and I'm proud of the opportunities that I've found within the city of East Cleveland. To respond to the community, we're here to do a job, and in good faith we try to execute that job. And I will never down talk nor shun the community's feedback as to what it is should happen or what it is that should be taking place relative to our voting. However, you have entrusted 5 people. You have entrusted the elected officials of the administration. However, when one falls short of his or her duty, that is that person's shortfall. And like my colleague stated earlier, everybody does make mistakes. But we as a community need to come together and build more on what it is we need to do going forward, with or without those individuals. In respect to responsibilities, Mr. Irby, some by now just don't have it. But it's up to us again to make sure that we put together a solid plan for this community. And partnerships and new strategic directions that fall before us, we need to seize all opportunity to revitalize the East Cleveland community. Stating somebody has to go, personally, we've already talked. This community has to go in a different direction at some point. We can't invite partners to the table that have raised $17 million and then say that in about 6 months to a year we hope to be dissolved. No, they're working hard, they're praying about the situation, they're raising funding, they're meeting with corporate donors. We need to do what is responsible in our government, and that's to remain solid with the city of East Cleveland. Dr. Pat, I'm in Shaw High School almost every other day, or if not every day. I would love to read to any of the students in the lower grades, but as an educator, I know how important the 3rd grade guarantee is. It means whether or not a teacher retains their job if their students don't pass. So anything I can do to give encouragement to the students and give encouragement to the teachers, I'll do that. Mr. Bone, I will follow up with you in relationship to the tires. As I stated earlier to you, that the city has had a citywide campaign with the solid waste district and the health department to collect the tires throughout the city of East Cleveland. It's called a tire roundup. They do it every year. We just have to identify those locations in conjunction with the service department, health department, and the solid waste district, and the East Cleveland Council and administration will put together a plan to resolve those issues. The terrace apartment situation, that day, once it came out, I did go speak with the judge, and he sent somebody that day. The law department was actively involved in it. The council office and council president were at haste to make sure that we did something. So everybody is definitely concerned about the living conditions in that apartment, and I definitely disagree with him still operating and owning property within the city and not being held liable. You can't do it in any other city. You wouldn't want your kids living in it, so don't put anybody else at that risk.
I agree.
Mr. Massey, I wish you much success again. Thank you for your feedback. But understand, sir, that you know, in some right, people do try. People try, and we do have our own self-issues and our own problems that we deal with, and we kind of leave those in the back seat, and we come and sit here and we hope to carry out the business of the city. So, like I said, everybody is on different levels, sir. So as we move forward, bear with us. All right. That's all of my comments. Wanted to give my condolences to the family of former director Major Johnson and Mrs. Bernice Ewing. Both of their services were beautiful. And I'm sorry, Mr. Struthers, in regards to the deposit, we didn't get an answer in relationship to that until about 2 years ago as to how the increments came in. There was 3.2, 3.2, and 1 point something, 1.2, 1.3. We never really got a definite and in detail itemization as to how that money was spent and what account it was spent out of and how much exactly that really came in. I would hope that more transparency under somebody of you know,
The Supreme
different
Court,
work ethic
Supreme
and
Court will
different
do it.
character would push those items before the community so they can be informed even years later. That
Supreme
concludes
Court
my-
will do it.
Um,
They'll bring it
Vice
forward when
President Wheeler, do you have anything you want to remark?
Just, the city gonna take more than a silver bullet to turn it around. Everybody has challenges and issues in the city. Some talk about potholes, some talk about traffic lights. Everybody has a concern. You address as many as you can. But my thing is this, if you come here and you wanna complain about the city, that's fine, everybody has a right to that. But then after the meeting is over with, during the week, call the council office. If there's something that's directly that you want me to get involved in, call me. I respond to everybody's call and try to do whatever I can. If it's a traffic light or if it's a pothole or just getting salt down your street. The salt trucks were out today. They were going down the street. If they didn't get on your street, call your council person. We'll try to see what we can do to intervene and get the salt trucks to your street. But they were out.
I didn't know that, but matter of fact, you need to put some salt on Northfield, because that ice is thick as the devil over there.
I'll
So,
take the service directly.
Those are the things that I'm, and to the young man about leadership not being late, if you saw my agenda, I made it a point to be here today. Since I've been on council, I've only missed 2 meetings. I wish I was perfect, but I'm not. But I did make it here, and I still got another obligation later on tonight. So having a business, having children, having a family, having a household, having a mother that's up in age I'm taking care of, I thank the Lord that I can make it tonight. Because this was important, and I wanted to be here. So I'm sorry you got the misunderstanding of me thinking, I lack leadership because I'm not on time. Don't judge by that, judge by my performance. That's really it. Everybody have a good evening.
I really want to thank this council, but there's one more thing I want to say to the young man. When you mentioned the gas station, when I first came on here on council, that was one of the things that I wrote about and put legislation in about single cigarettes, blunts, and all of that.
Yep.
And it is here and it is recorded. And we have had some people arrested, and we had quite a few people going in and sending kids in there to buy. And not only children, you'd be surprised how many adults go in and buy single cigarettes. And you ain't gonna be surprised because you out there. So I know what's happening. I raised 3 boys, and I can tell you, they tell me everything. And my little dope boys on there, who is supposed to be business people, they making their rounds. So I'm saying to you, like Mr. Wheeler said, don't judge. It's so heavy. Okay? Because your mind is still growing and your spirit is still growing. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I got a point of order. I have a few comments, and after my few comments, I would like to extend a courtesy to the Salvation Army since they came out here tonight, if they would like to address the council and the residents, that they may be allowed to do so. And I wanted to go over some of the remarks from the residents. You have to bear with us on the streets, Ms. Wheeler. And as you...
No, I'm just mentioning that he said call the council, it needs to be done. Don't matter to me.
Every year around this time, we're going to get potholes and chuck holes, and given the limited resources that we have, both trucks are working. As a point of clarity, both trucks are working, and we do have salt as a priority with the supply of salt we have to hit the hills first, as they pose the most danger. So, and the businesses, the businesses
And what if your cars get towed? Are y'all gonna reimburse people for that?
That's why you.
But as an interesting point of reference, if you saw the news Saturday night, they were up in arms in Cleveland over blocks of neighborhoods who are facing the same problems. So it's not something that's just here in East Cleveland. And we talked about the tire dumping. If you see dumping, try to get plates, call the police.
I'm aware of that, sir.
I want to clear up. There's a good point you made, Mr. Massey, in the sense that maybe I didn't explain what it was I was doing well enough. The project that I have the students working on, and I don't doubt the level of academia at Shaw High, but they wouldn't be able to handle this project. This is more of a college student project. So that's what we're doing with that. And in regards to the
See what I'm saying?
flavored tobacco use.
That's a lack of education through the council. Because I graduated from Shaw High School and I'm very intelligent. I'm so intelligent that I can cooperate and handle you on your level.
That's an assumption. Okay, let me say it this way.
You sound
Let me say it this way. Let me say it this way, please.
Please don't.
Please, let me say it this way.
Wait a minute.
Like I said, I was the student
not
council
the
president.
first level of education, I came out of Shaw High too.
Mr. King, Ronald,
You guys need to adjust your
can I
You guys,
ask
you neighbors, and you know it, man. That was ridiculous. Come on.
That's
I don't hold your
I
comment.
come out of Shaw too, so.
if there's
Right, and
no
it goes to
more,
show why you being the way you are then, huh? Since they can't handle it.
Ronald, can I, Ronald,
I've heard enough.
okay, if you've heard enough, darling,
And you
then-
guys are acting like the mayor now.
That's right.
If I can get back to my comments, sorry about that.
No.
So,
That is y'all job.
what we're doing is, with these students, they are getting credit for this in college.
okay.
So, the last comment I want to make is in regards to Mr. O'Mays. O'Mays, this is the second time we both read the legislation, the Green Bible, and we've had a difference of interpretation on what it's saying. Right? Remember the first time when we read it and I said, no, that's not what it's saying, and you're saying something different. So, it's okay to agree to disagree.
You're just trying to pick
And-
fights.
Pardon me?
Just trying to pick fights with different people.
So, in closing out Black History Month, I'd like to tell you a story, a Black History story of Cecil King. O'Mays, I wanted you to hear this story.
Okay, just.
Mr. King, I think we need to hold comments
It's okay.
next time.
No, let me finish, because O'Mays is here.
No,
So,
wait, just a minute. I think, and I want to say to the major, when I talked to the major out in the parking lot, I asked her, you didn't have to come, and she said, the lawyer told her, she needs to be present because of any questions that might arise. That is why she's here. She's not here to give a presentation. She's here because to simply answer any questions that you might have about this legislation. Now, I'm going to say that I don't think it's appropriate for us to be going back and forth.
Yep.
We've addressed the legislation. We've addressed the legislation, and that's why I was trying to tell you what they're here. They're not here to get a presentation.
okay,
He was
that's fine.
responding to the
I was
community.
saying that
He has that right.
we're here to extend the
Mr. O'Mays,
So,
please.
I'm telling you what you have.
Mr. O'Mays, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so Black History Month is over, and I wanted to tell you a story about Black history. A guy named Cecil. Cecil King was my father. He's deceased.
Oh, Lord.
Many of you can relate to this story. It was a sunny day here in East Cleveland. Mother was on the porch. Our family house is 5 houses stuck together. So you can imagine the sidewalk, right? As I went down the sidewalk, got to the end, to the next driveway, got off the bike, turned it around like this, I could see my father in our driveway. He had a wrench in one hand and training wheels in the other hand. I got back up on that bike, pedaled all the way back to him. No training wheels. When I got back to him, he said, "Nice job. Good job, brother." He patted me on my back and he said, "Listen, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to go up on the porch and watch you ride with your mother." As I rolled up and down the sidewalk with excitement that I could ride this bike without the training wheels, at some point I looked back up at the porch. They had gone in the house. Right? At some point, Dad, you're going to have to trust us. That's my Black History story. Thank you, Mr. O'Mays.
Thank you. I really appreciate the fact that we can agree, disagree, and I have to find, as the chair, to interject sometime to keep it cool. But having seen that things do happen and we're not perfect, and if this was a perfect world, we would not be up here doing what we do. If I can have a motion to, it is now 7:45. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Call the roll, Ms.
Counselor King,
Yay.
Counselor Wheeler,
Yeah.
Counselor Thomas.
Yay, thank you.